Hi guys, it's Angie Bell with my fairy treasures. Okay, you guys, I am coming at you today with my first tutorial. So give me grace, people. Give me grace. It's my first tutorial with knitting. Okay, I've done lots of tutorials on YouTube with all my mixed media and art and crafts and all that, but never with knitting. So it's my first one, and I've had quite a. I'm running a I'm having a Lennie Kravits super scarf knit along, and it goes from now until Christmas. It's a great thing to join because it's super simple. It goes super quick because we're using really big needles. And you can make gifts and you can make them for yourself also. So it's also for crocheters also. It's not just for knitters. So I can't show you how to make it in crochet because I don't know how to crochet, but there is a video below that tells you how you can crochet it. Let me just talk about crochet really quickly and then we'll get on with the knitting tutorial. If you're going to crochet it, you can follow the video that I have linked below, okay? And the only thing is I'm sure the video that I have linked below doesn't make it wide enough. You saw the pictures beforehand, and there'll be some pictures after. It's 20 inches wide. So in crochet, the video that you watch, you may have to chain on a few more chains, and that's going to give you the width. You want it to be 20 inches wide. As far as length, I take I'm 5'6" and I knit it right down to my calves. And so I'm between 80 and 90 inches. And then I add fringe on. So you have to take in consideration of that. So after you get to about 65, 70 inches, start trying it on and seeing where you want it to land. But remember, it's a super scarf. So you want it, it's a Lennie Kravits super scarf. So you want it wide and you want it long, in my opinion. So, you know, to the calves and maybe add fringe after that. Or, you know, customize it for yourself. I'm using chunky yarn, size 5. If you're going to use size 5, and I'm going to hold the size 5 double, which sounds crazy, but just listen. I taken a size 5, holding it double. So for crocheters, you need to use a N or P hook. And I also have notes about another hook size that you guys can use. Let me just see if I don't have the notes right here. Okay, a P hook is what would be really good if you're going to do it the way I'm doing it, but in crochet, holding it double, okay? By using such a big hook, or in knitting, holding such big knitting needles, you guys, this comes out has so much drape, and it's so light, it's not heavy, and it's very nice and drapey. And it's so quick and fun, and it's very cozy and warm. I call these adult blankets, okay? So if you're going to crochet it, make sure that you chain enough stitches to get yourself 20 inches wide. At about 65, 70 inches, start trying it on so you know how long you want to crochet it out. You can use any crochet stitch you want, okay? Okay, so that covers the crocheters. Look for your video below, okay? This does take anywhere between 800 to 1,000 yards of yarn if you're using chunky yarn and holding it double. So 800 to 1,000. I know crochet takes more, so you guys might be up at the 1,000. I use 8 skeins, which each skein is about 100 yards, and I use 8 of those. So I use right about 800 yards. Plus the fringe, I might be close to 800, 900, something like that. But just have 1,000 yards ready to go, okay? And I think that's everything, all the information I need to give you. Like I said, for crocheters, look below and there's a video for you guys to watch, okay? And if you're going to join the Lennie Kravits Super Scarf, every Friday I go live 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. And there, I always talk about the knit and crochet, the Lennie Kravits Super Scarf knit and crochet along. So you can come there and get more information. But join our group. It's called Our Magical Little Place. There's a clickable link below in the description. And all you need to do to join this is just take a picture of your yarn and your knitting needles like this. Take a picture of it and put a picture of it in the Facebook group and say, I'm in. That's it. And then just show us. You can show us your progress. You can show us when you're half done. You can show us when you're all the way done, however you want to do it. Okay, so let's get started on this Lennie Kravits Super Scarf. You guys, it's super easy. Super, super easy. I'm going to leave a tail about this long. Okay? So let me just, someone's going to ask me how long is this tail. That's 11. about 20 inches. So let's leave a 20-inch tail just to sew your ends in. Okay, so let's cast on. Make sure I'm under this camera. Yes, I am. Okay, so to cast on, and let me bring it, see, I'm going to come down as close as I can, but I also have to have room to move these sticks. Oh, the other thing, let's talk about the knitting needles. I'm using a US 19. I don't know if you guys can see that. A US 19 or US 19, or if it's in millimeters, you can call it, they're 15 millimeters. Okay. I know, and then did I discuss this? I'm using, the yarn I'm using is Baby B, My Sweet Love, 94 yards. I got it on clearance for $1.24. So I'll be making this Lennie Kravits super scarf for nothing. And it is a weight 5. You can use a weight 5 or a 6 and hold it double. It doesn't matter. All right, so we got to do our slip stitch, right? So there we go. And that's how I do my slip stitch. Okay. Then put this on. I put this on not super tight. I leave a little bit of room in there, but I do put it on there so that it's holding on, so you don't feel like it's going to slip off. Okay. So now let's cast on. You're going to need to cast on 30 stitches. Now, if you don't want to do this holding it double, you can do this holding it single. This is for crocheters too. You can do it holding single. You can use worsted weight. You can use a weight 3. You can use any weight you want. But if you're going to do that, just take, you want this to be 20 inches wide. That's going to be your big thing. So you're going to have to either cast on more stitches, a little bit more stitches than the 30 that we're going to do, or you have to chain more than 30 stitches. So with the pattern that I am doing, which I guess I wrote it. I mean, I'm not saying I created the super scarf, but this pattern, I came up with this pattern. You cast on 30 stitches. So how many do we have on here right now? 2. So let's keep going. 3. Wait a minute. Just, oh, okay, never mind. We only have 2 stitches on here. I'm holding it double. Okay, I had a little bit of brain fart. Sorry. So we got 2 stitches, 3, 4, and don't go super tight. Leave a little bit. See right there how I left a little bit? Leave a little bit of room on your needles so that it's not super tight. And then your knitting is going to go a lot faster, a lot easier, and it's going to look a lot better if you're not knitting so tightly. So that's one way not to knit tight, is to loosely put cast on your stitches. I'm going to keep track of my every 10 stitches over here on a piece of paper. I'll do it in front of you guys. All right, so what do we got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so there's 10. So I'm going to write down 10. This is how I do it. And we want to get to 30 stitches, right? This is just, I just do every 10, write them down, and that keeps me in track. Especially if someone interrupts you, then you know where you're at. Also, I'm not using, this is my tail. I'm not touching the tail. The tail goes down. I'm only using my working yarn. Working yarn is the yarn that's on the spool. Okay, look how gorgeous this yarn is. Look at all the pink and gray. Isn't that beautiful? And it's so soft, you guys. Oh, it's like a baby's butt. All right, so let's do 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're at 20. Now we need 10 more, and then we'll have all of our stitches casted on. So let's do a 10 more. And I know this shawl is something so good for beginners, and it's really good for intermediate and advanced, because if you just want some potato chip knitting, which just means some easy knitting that you don't have to think about, this is something great. Oh, also, I'm just doing the basic knit stitch with this. You do not have to do just the basic knit stitch. You can choose whatever stitch you want. Like my next one I want to do the bamboo stitch, but I'm doing this with you guys today, so I'm doing the basic knit stitch. Okay, so I still have 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the reason I still went over how to cast the whole cast on thing is because, you know, there's a lot of people who are new to knitting, and this might be their first project. So I want to go through all the steps so that a very, very beginner knitter could do this. Okay. Okay. So now we have 30 stitches on. Okay. So, and you do want your knitting needles to be this is a good length. Let me see what they are. They're 10, they're like 10, like 12 inches long. Okay, so that's the kind of size you want. I got my knitting needles for only $2 a piece at Michael's for $2. They're regular like $8 or $9. So and V just went to Michael's yesterday or the day before and found them for $2 still. So you check your Michael's for these big needles. Okay, so. And the big needles are important. Even if you're going to just hold this single and not hold the yarn double, use a size 15 needle. You want something way bigger than what the ball calls for. That's where you're going to get the nice drape and the lightness of this Lennie Kravits super scarf. Okay, so whenever you're going to start in knitting, always start with the needle in your left hand that has what you just cast it on. That's important so that you don't start knitting in the round and it just goes to a complete disaster. Okay. After that, then you're always going to be holding it over here. But whenever you start, hold it in your left hand. That'll get you started out the right way every time. Okay, so then we're going to make sure you always get through both of the, make sure you always get through both of the strands. Okay. And I do feel a little bit awkward because I have to stand under this camera. So just bear with me, okay, people? Okay. So I'm not, right now, I'm not, and sometimes I'm not going to stay at the front, but sometimes I just lift up the yarn a little bit like that and then put my needle behind, because that's what you need to do. Your needle needs to go behind. But when you first start, sometimes it's hard to get the needle behind like that. So I'll start in the front and just bring my needle behind and then knit it. Okay, and now this one I could go behind easily. After this, I don't keep doing that. It's just when I very first start. You'll notice, like, when you first start your first row, it's a little bit awkward. Everything's so loosey-goosey. Not that you want things tight, but everything's so loosey-goosey. So it's the part that I hate when I very first start, because I don't know, I just like it better once I got a row started. Everybody says that. And this is another thing. Hold with your left hand, hold on your thumb, hold that down like that, so that your needles aren't going everywhere. See this thumb right here? That's important. So that your needles aren't going everywhere. Especially if you're working with plastic needles. They can be a little bit slippery. But nowhere near as slippery as metal. Really, see, I'm still going behind. So it's always behind. If you see me go in the front, it's only for a second. It's just to get the yarn lifted up if I can't get it lifted up off the needles. But I did. No, so I went behind. So it's always behind when you're doing the basic knit stitch, okay? Just once in a while, you're going to see me just get this lifted up a little bit because I just can't get my needle in there. Then go right behind. Make sure you still go behind and over. There we go. So like I said, sorry if I look a little bit awkward. When you're doing a tutorial like this, you're not in this position that you normally are in when you're knitting, and I'm underneath the camera, so you know. And one really important thing to make sure that you do, make sure that you catch both strands of yarn, because you're knitting double, right? Which means 2 strands of yarn. So make sure that you're getting both strands. So you can do, it's super easy, but it is a project that you need to kind of make sure you always kind of look down at what you're doing so that you catch both strands of yarn. When I'm knitting with just one strand, a lot of times I won't look down forever. But whenever I'm knitting 2 strands, I pretty much look down the whole time, because you need to catch both yarns. See? Make sure that you catch both yarns. Okay, hold on to that. There we go. So for some of you, knitting might be new for you. Let me tell you what's new for me. Making a tutorial. Very different. But I like it. I'll be doing some more. We have another knit along and crochet along we're going to do in January. And we'll announce it in Friday's live when we do it. We're going to do, I like to do boho cardigans. So everyone in the group said they want to do a knit along with the boho cardigan. So we're going to start that in January. I'm working on a another tutorial for that. So, all right, last one. There we go. So it's behind. There we go. So that's what, okay, so far this is where we're at. Okay. All right, so let's do another row. So now we've done everything. All you're going to do is you're just going to keep knitting this out, knitting this out, knitting this out. And at about 65 inches, put it on real quick. Keep it on your needles, put it on and see where it's hitting at and see how long you want to go. Now remember, it's a Lennie Kravits super scarf, so you want it 20 inches wide and you want it pretty long. Like I like mine to my calves. I put mine to my calves and then I add the fringe. But you might want yours to go to your knees and then add fringe, or you might want yours to go to your knees or your calves and add no fringe. It's up to you. All right, so let's do another row just so you guys can, especially for beginner knitters who are just learning how to knit. I'll do quite a few rows with you. So go behind, bam. Another thing, let me show you another thing. This is what I used to always do, and don't do it, because this is why I was such a tight knitter. Every time I got done doing a row, I would go like this and tighten my yarn up. Don't do that. Just leave it however it is. And for one, you're going to go a lot faster if you don't do that. Also, your knitting's going to turn out way too tight. So that solved my problem with becoming such a tight knitter. It was me pulling that. Every time I did a stitch, I'd pull and tighten that. So keep these stitches over here, kind of loose. Let them stay loose. Took me a while to get used to it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can get used to this. Let me go slower. Sorry, guys. I just realized I was going kind of fast. Okay, behind, over. And I always do this with my, I always take my thumb and I go up so that stitch can be kind of up so I can really get my needle behind. Okay. So lift that up a little bit so you can get your needle in there. Now this is how I knit, you guys. I'm not saying my way is the only way. This is how I do it. And you know, take from it what you need, leave what you don't need. But this is what I do. especially a beginner knitter, I think that taking this and going up like that a little bit really helps you see where you need to get behind that yarn to put your needle in. And you constantly want to keep moving up your yarn on this side. So you want this to be not at the tip, but about right here. And over here, have this down a little further so you have a little bit of room to put the stitches on over here, right? Oh, it feels so good now knitting that I don't have, that I'm not doing the first row. Doing that first row, oh, so awkward to me. To most people, I've heard a lot of people say they don't like doing that first row. It's just awkward. Okay. So this is all we do, guys. This is it. Is this so easy to make the Lennie Kravits super scarf? And you guys saw how cool it looks. I have pictures. You guys saw the pictures before this, and then pictures afterwards, so you can see what it's supposed to look like. Let me make sure that I'm not going too fast. Okay. Also, if you have size 17 needles, you can use 17 instead of 19s. That's fine. I wouldn't use 15 and holding it double, but 17s will be fine too, if that's what you have, so you don't have to run out and get them. Okay. Last stitch. All right. So check it out. Okay. How pretty that is. Oh, I just love it. I wanted a pink Lennie Kravits super scarf, and I have a lot of pink, but I don't have a lot of light pink in chunky. I need to collect more light pink and chunky. I have a lot of light pink in worsted. But anyway, so that's what that looks like. Look how pretty. So let's do another row. And this is just for people who, I know for some of you guys who are, been knitting forever, you guys are like, oh my God, this is basic. But, oh, and that first stitch you put on, I do tighten that up just a little bit. I still leave a little room, but I do tighten it up a little bit just so that it gets on the needle. Then everything else, I just let it lay how it's going to lay. But that first stitch can be really wonky. I've noticed if you don't just kind of tighten it a little bit on the needles just to get you started, then after that, don't pull that yarn. This yarn here, don't pull that. And how I found out that I was a tight knitter was I was making a sweater. And I've done a lot of things, but that was the first thing I did. Well, I do boho, I do a lot of things, but I always go up 2 or 3 needle sizes. I'm always making things kind of oversized because that's what I like. Well, I was making a sweater oversized, but the sweater started shrinking. I'm like, why is this sweater? By the time I had done almost a panel, it shrunk like 3 inches. I'm like, what's going on? And so then I went to research it on YouTube and I found out I'm a tight knitter. So she said, you need to go always up at least 1 size. And I hadn't gone up 1 size. I was knitting exactly with what the yarn asked for. Also, so I always need to go up a size or 2 because I'm a tighter knitter. Also, I was pulling this thread. So I was pulling all these strands here tight on this side. So after I stopped doing those things, I didn't have any more shrinkage of my sweater. My knitting just looks so much better. Also, I'm such a faster knitter because it takes more effort to every time tighten this, tighten that every time. Now I'm skipping a whole step by not tightening it every time. Just get on to the next stitch. All right, let me slow down. Sorry guys, I get going. There we go. I got to remember, people are learning. So girl, don't be going like a Speedy Gonzales. Okay. Lift that up. Go behind. Okay. Lift that up. Go behind. Lift that up, go behind. And then kind of bring it, when you get to a certain spot, bring your yarn back, bring the yarn up a little bit on your needle. Behind and over. Behind and over. Behind and over. Behind and over. I think this is a great, I think this is a great project for a beginner knitter. I think it's great for everybody. It's great for a beginner knitter because, I mean, this is so basic, but you're going to come out with something that's so cool. You can make them for yourself. You can make them for gifts. If you're intermediate to advanced knitter, if you just want, even if you're an intermediate or advanced knitter, you always want those easy projects that you don't have to think, that you get to just enjoy, sit in front of the TV and just knit along, you know? Or if you're in a knitting group or you're doing something where you just can't focus, you can't be counting rows, this is a great project just to pick up. We always like, as knitters and crocheters, that potato chip knitting where you don't have to think, you can just start going. That's what I think. Okay. Okay. Now, when you bind off, that's a thing, binding off. You know what? Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to bind off, because some people may not know how to bind off, and that's really super important, is binding off. Okay, so we did a few rows of knitting. So you're going to, this is what it's looking like. Okay, that's what it's looking like so far. But you're going to knit this out, this whole thing here. You're going to knit this out, get at about 65 inches, which is pretty long. But it's going to go quick because you're using big needles and big yarn. When you get to about 65 to 70, if you're a shorter person, at 65 inches, start trying it on. 65, 70 inches, try it on and see where you're at. So you need to know how much longer you need to knit it till, okay? I probably knit it to anywhere between 85 and 90, I think. Something like that. But it depends on how tall you are, and also take into account if you're going to put fringe on. Okay, let me show you how to cast off. So let's just suppose we've already knitted this out. For me, I knit this out anywhere between 85 and 90 inches. Okay, I'm all done. Okay, so we've knitted out 80, 85, 90 inches. Now we have our Lennie Kravits super scarf, right? So now we're at the end, but we need to bind off. So let me show you how to bind off. Oh, sorry guys, my nose started, and I had my knitting kind of turned around on me. Okay, here we go. Let me grab some water. To cast off, this is just a regular cast off. You're going to go behind just like you're knitting. You're going to knit 2 stitches. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay, now what you want to do now is you want to take your left hand and the point of this needle and go into this stitch here, okay? The first stitch that's on your needle, not the second, but the first, and go in it, lift it up, and go like that. Okay, that's it. So we're going to do that to a whole thing so you guys can see it again. So you want to always have 2 stitches on. So now you're left with 1 stitch, right? Knit 1 more stitch. The only time you knit 2 stitches is the first one. You knit 2 to get 2 on your needles. Now you have 2 again, right? Take this hand, go to the first stitch. You're going to lift it up over the other stitch and off, and let it go. Okay? Do another knit stitch. You always want 2 stitches on your needles, right? So now we got our two stitches on again, right? But when you first start, remember I started with 2 right away. So right when you start, put 2 on the needles. Okay, so now you're gonna take your point of this needle in the left hand, go in and lift it up and go over. Okay. All right, we only have one stitch on here now, right? It looks like 2 stitches, but it's not. It's because we're holding it double, right? So if you're holding it double, that counts as 1 stitch, okay? Not 2 stitches. So let's put another stitch on here on the needles. Now you have 2 stitches, right? Again, lift it up over the other one and off. There we go. Okay, let's put another stitch on the needles. And this might be something, if you've never done this before and you're just learning, cast on some stitches, knit a few stitches, and then practice binding off, okay? Got your 2 stitches again, right? Take this, okay? Lift it up and off. Okay. And I'll do it to the whole thing, the whole 30 stitches, so that you can see this over and over and over. Because when you first are learning things, you do need to see it over and over and over and over again. I remember I couldn't tell you, for the first, I don't know, a couple of years, every time I went to go bind off, I had to go watch my bind off video really quick. I only had to watch it for like 20 seconds, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember now. So, because you don't, wait 1 second, guys, I did something weird here. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I went in the wrong hole there. Okay. So your main thing is you always want to make sure that you have 2 stitches on the needles, right? And lift this one off. So you're just putting a knit stitch on, just like you're knitting. Now you got two stitches on the needles, right? And then lift this one off. Super, super simple. Casting off, it is really simple. It feels awkward maybe at first because when you have to lift that second stitch over that first stitch, or lift the first stitch over the second stitch, it feels a little awkward at first, but once you practice it, it'll be no big deal, guys. And if you're a beginner knitter, don't expect perfection. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time and practice. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're learning a new skill, so it's going to take a little bit. And I have some crocheters that are in my, that come to my lives and that are in the group who are crocheters, but they want to learn to knit. And I have a few of them that are going to knit this instead of crochet it. So I'm really excited for them. But they wanted me to do a video and to show how to make this. Even though it's really simple, you still, when you're beginning something like this, you need to see it. And you need to see it like a lot of times, a lot of times. I know when I first began knitting, oh my gosh, I needed to see everything so many times. And I needed someone to do it up close and to do it slowly. So that's why I'm trying to be as close to this camera as I can. And I'm trying to go as slow as I can. And I'll show you something that might help you when you're binding off. Okay, go ahead and, like you're doing a knit stitch, and knit this on. I'm going to show you guys something I just thought about that might make it easier for you too. When you go to lift this stitch up here, kind of lift it up. See how much space I have right there? Really lift it up, and that'll give you the space to get it over that second stitch. Okay, let me show it again slowly. Go behind like you're doing a knit stitch. Take that first stitch and really lift it up, see? So that you can lift it up over that second stitch. I used to also hold on to this stitch a little bit as long as possible. I used to be so stressed out that this stitch was going to fall off. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, you guys. It really does. I used to hold on to, you can do that. Hold on to that first stitch and then go over. Just a little bit, just for a second, I used to hold on to that stitch. So if you feel like you need to do that, you can. Like just hold on to that, to this first one here, just a little bit for a second till you get over, and then there you go. It's kind of awkward. The whole thing of casting off when you first learn it, it's a little bit awkward. So if you feel like it's awkward, it is. But after you get used to it, it's not awkward at all. It's just super, super easy. And for my boho cardigan tutorial, it's coming up soon. It'll be coming up in the next few weeks. And that'll prepare everybody for the boho cardigan, knit along or crochet along. And in crocheting, the boho cardigan is called a shrug. It's the same thing. And that depends on how long you want it to. Do you want it to be cover your butt? Do you want it to cover like, go to like, I like mine long. Like I make mine to like my calves. I make mine to like my knees. I love them to be really big and long. So, but that'll be my next tutorial. I can't believe I'm doing knitting tutorials. I never thought I would be doing knitting tutorials. Never. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that I'm going to do some knitting tutorials, I'd have been like, yeah, right. But here I am. Okay, and over. Last one. Oh, I got to show you this part too. Okay, so yeah, that was your last stitch, right? You still do the same thing. Get that over and there. Bam. Now, what you want to do is you want to create yourself. It depends. Okay, if you're knitting something where, if you're knitting something that you're going to use this to also sew up the sides, you want this pretty long, like long. Look at what you need to stitch up. Like if it's a sweater or a boho cardigan, kind of measure that out. You want something really long. But here, all we're going to do is sew our ends in. So this does not have to be super, super long. Okay. Because we're not having to sew anything at the end. We're not sewing things together. We're just going to weave in our ends. So you want a nice little thing to weave your ends with though. So I'm going to cut that off. So, you know, like this is fine. The same as before, 20 inches. And what you want to do is you just cut that off, right? So now you want to just take you just want to take this and go like this. You got your stick here, your needles. Let me show you. So you're just going to go like this and just keep going. So I just took this off and went like this until it fell off the needles, right? And then there's going to be go like this and really nice and tight. And now see, there's a little knot there now. So now that ended it. So now you don't have to worry. You'll be good. So just a second. Let me see if I can. So now you have your Lennie Kravits super scarf. Not really, because you really need to knit this. Oh, my nose. You needed to have knitted this, right? Out to anywhere between, I don't know, anywhere between 75 and 90 inches, somewhere in there. It depends on how tall you are. I know that sounds like a big thing, but I'm not sure. And it depends on where you want it to end up at. But okay, so let's say this is 75 to about 90 inches long. Now you just cast it off. Now you have your super scarf. That's it. And then you can just take these, your ends, and weave your ends in, okay, into your shawl. So you'll just, you know, get your darning needle or your needles, put this in, and then just weave it in and out, in and out, in and out till you weave in your ends. I like to get, I don't have it in here, do I? No. I like to get a my needles, my yarn needles, instead of the metal or even the plastic ones, I like to get the ones that have like a little bit of a bendable like wire on it, because it really can expand out big. You want some ones with a big head on them, I'll say that, so that you can get both of these strands in there, okay? Because look, it's pretty thick. The one that has like the it's not the metal or the plastic, but it has like a little bit of a wire, or it's a piece of plastic up there for your needle's eye, it really can open up for you. It can really open up for you, like, so that you can get these two strands in, okay? That's the one I would look at to weave in your ends. And that's it. And then also, if you want to, you can then put fringe on. And then you decide if you want to do fringe. Okay, you guys, that is it for this tutorial. And you know what? I could do let me know if you want me to do a video on how to add fringe. But there's plenty of videos on how to add fringe. A lot of people know how to add fringe. Because what are we at? Yeah, we're already at 40 minutes. So let me know if you want me to do a video of how to add fringe. And I'll do a separate video on adding fringe. Or you can just look up a video on how to add fringe. Okay, you guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it was nice and clear and everyone understands. If you want to join the Lennie Kravits Super Scarf Crochet or Knit Along, join us on Fridays. Every Friday, 11 o'clock a.m. I go live Pacific time. And it's a great time. It's called Angie's Yarn Party. I give yarn away. I give different stuff, different giveaways every week. We all have fun. It's like a big party up in there. We pretty much always discuss the Lennie Kravits Super Scarf. And if you just want to join it, like I said, just join it. Below in the description. There's a clickable link to our group. It's called Our Magical Little Place. Click on that. It'll take you to the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group, and then just take a picture of your yarn and your knitting needles and say, I'm in the Lennie Kravits Super Scarf Crochet and Knit Along. And that's it. All right, you guys, that is it for today. Like I said, I hope everything was clear and precise, and you guys understand what's expected and what to do. And like I said, give me a little grace, because this was my first knitting tutorial. All right, you guys, that is it. I will, real quick too, I also go live every Wednesday, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And that's just a knit and crochet night. So knitters and crocheters are welcome. It's a knit and crochet night. And it's just real casual. I invite people up on the panel. I put the link out. Up to 6 people can come on, and we just talk and knit, talk to each other, talk to everybody in the chat. It's just a lot of fun. It's real super casual, but it's just it's like a knitting and crochet group that you could go to every Wednesday, but it's online. So that's all that is, and it's really fun. It's a couple of hours. Also, I go live again also on Sundays, 2 o'clock Pacific time, and that's called Angie's Art Party. I'm usually doing some type of mixed media, and again, it's like a big party. I have giveaways, and everybody just crafts or mixed media along. And if you're a knitter or crocheter, I have lots of knitters or crocheters in that live also, and they're loving it. They're learning something completely new and different, and they're loving it. And then I have my mixed media friends in the knit and crocheting now. So everybody's just mixing, and I think that's awesome, because we're not just knitters or crocheters, or we're not just mixed media artists. We're makers, okay? We like making stuff. It don't matter if it's yarn or if it's paint. We like to make stuff, right? So the thing we all have in common is we're makers. So everybody's mixing together in all the groups, and I'm loving it. So, okay, I'm going to stop jibber jabbing, and I will talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions, just leave them in the link below, okay? Talk to you guys later. Bye.